From Olympic City and the home of Pikes Peak, this is the Automotive ADHD Show.
Oh yeah, here we are rocking it on the Automotive ADHD Show, heard around the world as a podcast. And right here in Southern Colorado on the radio, catch it Saturday mornings, 91.7 KLZR, voice of the Wet Mountain Valley. My name is Matt West. You know what I'm here for. I am here to talk about cars. You have tuned into the correct car show with a lot of fun stuff this week. Oh man, we got a bunch of topics to hit on, namely Audi has changed their logo, and nobody noticed because they replaced their four-ring logo with another logo that has four rings. We'll touch on that. Audi is also now in the business of selling virtual reality instead of cars. So I guess we will have an Audi-themed segment in the second half of the show. The two different Audi stories back to back. One of the largest V8 Miata swap companies closes up shop, and it is a travesty. It is a tragedy. They will be dearly missed, as there will be fewer V8 Miatas on the road as a result, which is truly depressing. And we'll touch on that. We may even give a brief eulogy to the V8 Miata, and we'll go from there. But we won't brew on that dark news for too long, because I'm also going to talk about how Porsche has just recently decided to use its famous sports car for the sport of volcano climbing. This is cool. It's as cool as it sounds. It's every bit as cool as it sounds. We're going to get to all of that and your car sounds on this week's edition of the Automotive ADHD Show. Coming to you just a little bit later. I do want to thank the listeners who were messaging me on Facebook. Oh, where's the show? Where's the show, Matt? I know it's been a very busy week, and I wanted to make sure I had time to put together a quality show for you. I care about the show I do for you every single week, and I always want to make sure I've got time to do it right. It's just been nuts with work this week, so I do want to thank those of you who messaged me saying, "Hey, you forgot to upload the show, idiot." No, they were nicer than that. But anyway, so we're regardless, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Of course, if you love cars, you should love the RPM Act, and you should support the people who support the RPM Act. I'm talking about this every week until we get it passed. Once we get it passed, I'll shut up about it. But until then, the EPA wants to take away your ability to turn street cars into competition-only track cars. And they're going to kill grassroots motorsports in doing that. Not only are they going to kill grassroots motorsports, by doing that, they're going to deliberately hurt and take away the American jobs, the American companies that produce speed parts for race cars. And you know, those same companies also produce street legal parts. Your street legal catback exhaust is oftentimes made by a company that predominantly makes their money from racing. And if they can't do that, then they got to stop everything. They'll be out of business. We can't let the EPA do that. This directly affects race cars and indirectly affects anybody who enjoys modifying their street car. And they don't care. The EPA doesn't care about NASCAR. They don't care about F1. They get a pass because they have millions and billions of dollars, like Dr. Evil level of billions of dollars, you know, pinky firmly planted at the corner of your cheek there. And the EPA doesn't seem to mind them. Nope, it's not an environmental problem when the companies with millions of dollars do it, but when the grassroots does it, ooh, it's a problem. So we need to stop the EPA. We can do it. We can fight back. SaveOurRaceCars.com is the place to be if you want to support the RPM Act. Several of my listeners have messaged me saying they have gone through there. They have gotten in touch with their state reps. It sounds complicated. Ooh, email your state rep. It's not hard. You go through a couple clicks. They've got a pre-built letter. You put in your zip code. It figures out who your state reps are, and you just send it to them. Couple clicks, you're done. You can write a whole letter yourself if you want to. You have that option. And I encourage you to do that, but you don't have to. And that's why it's so good. Again, SaveOurRaceCars.com. Check it out. Okay, first thing on the docket today. There's a bunch of stuff to talk about. The most amazing Bring a Trailer parody Twitter account has surfaced, and it's amazing. It's beautiful. It is the kind of true comedic gold that helps brighten up my mornings when I'm scrolling through Bring a Trailer listings, and I look at, they want how much for a clean Honda Civic? What? No, these guys know what's up. And it's Bring a Trailer, for the uninitiated, is a popular auction website for cars. And it is pretty famous for having ridiculous listings, in the sense, by no means of Bring a Trailer's doing. It's famous for the fact that people will post a pretty clean Toyota Camry, a nice clean Ford Ranger, and it'll get like $100,000 in bids. It's mind-blowing, right? Now, obviously, Bring a Trailer themselves, I love them because there's so many cool cars on there, even though I know I can't afford them. I just like looking at the cool cars that are up there. But again, the comedic gold happens when you call out the fact that just average, everyday cars do get posted there, and for whatever reason, the bids get racked up to astronomical values, and a Parody Twitter account has taken to that and kind of run with it. It's called @BringATrailer, except trailer spelled Trailor instead of the official account, which is Trailer, like how a trailer is actually spelled. And the jokes are just deep, like multi-level, multi-layered jokes. Caleb Jacobs from The Drive, hat tip to The Drive, he says, quote, I'm just going to read a quick section from his article about this because it's brilliant. He says, quote, the first @BringATrailer post I saw was a phony auction result showing a one-owner 2016 Nissan Altima with zero cosmetic damage that went for $125,000. He goes on to say there are some obvious layers to that joke. The first being that such an Altima exists, and the second being that if it did, Bring a Trailer's quote curators would probably allow it on their site. He says if a 2001 Ford Ranger can make it, so can a pristine example of the world's most accident-prone sedan. Well said. Well said. Now, what I find incredibly entertaining about this whole situation, because this Twitter page is just full of true comedy gold and fake auction listings that just kind of poke fun at the sort of people who buy and list cars on Bring a Trailer. So between the time when I actually did my show prep and, found all the stuff I wanted to talk about and do everything, between that time, I truly saved the link, their Twitter page, to my notes that I'm looking at right here. I saved that link, and in the time that it has taken for me to actually do the show, I'm talking about just a couple hours from the time I put the link down, the Twitter site, their page has been banned. That's how you know it's good. When they get banned that fast, that's how you know it's quality. And so I was sitting here before the show like, well, what am I going to do? Part of my plan was to read off some of the beautiful and brilliant and thought-provoking tweets that they had published, and now I can't get to their Twitter page. Now, good news, though, is Andy Kalmowitz from Jalopnik, he thought ahead. He went ahead and posted screenshots of all of the posts saying, yeah, if they get banned, here you go. And he has effectively saved this entire segment of the radio show, so you can thank him later. And I'll go through just a couple of them with you. Obviously, you know about the one-owner 2016 Nissan Altima with zero cosmetic damage for $125,000. By the way, side note, Nissan Altimas without any dents are incredible, and also our Toyota Camrys with no damage whatsoever. There's a great Facebook page that I'll totally just name drop here because it's hilarious, which is called Camrys with Dented Bumpers. That's a good follow. If you're looking for a good follow, that one's funny. You should check that one out. But then there's also a, here we go, 1981 Chevrolet Chevette for $1.4 million. No commentary. But then there's some, here's one, sold, 12-owner, 2019, non-New Jersey driven, that's an important point, Maserati Quattroporte, $1,601. Not $16,000, $1,601. All right, here it is. Sold, the Ferrari that you have no idea what the name actually is because all Ferraris have ridiculously complicated names now, sold for $643,333. I'm waiting to find one that is sold for, there's got to be a listing here sold for $69,420, and I'm just missing it. But some of these are good. Some of them I can't say on the radio. And okay, here they also have they've had a regular habit of posting scooters like mopeds regularly, and they do that, saying, well, in case you couldn't afford anything else, here's a scooter, you poors. Oh man. Hang on, I gotta find just a couple more here. Sold one Cadillac XLR taillight, $29,501. And the best part is these auction listings on this Twitter page look legit. Like if you were looking at them side by side with the official page, you would be hard pressed to know what's the real one. They even kind of emulated the Bring a Trailer logo. Here we go. Now live at Bring a Trailer Auctions, 2019 Jeep Wrangler, and it's got lights on it. Huge wheels, low profile tires, but like 30-inch wheels. Says, now live, Jeep Wrangler taking up 3 spaces at the grocery store edition of Bring a Trailer. 10,000 mile 2020 Subaru WRX sold for 10,000 vape cartridges. Is that a commentary on Subaru drivers? If you're a Subaru driver, you tell me. So, oh man, it's a tragedy. This website has, this Twitter page has gone away now. I mean, again, in the time it took for me to write it down and then start the show, they got banned, and that's just that's a tragedy. We should all get our pitchforks and torches and go protest in front of the Twitter headquarters. I mean, Elon Musk, has a chance here, being the new owner of Twitter, to allow such things as Bring a Trailer back, allow actual comedy on Twitter. Imagine that. That would be incredible. But anyway, I digress. If you want to check these out, well, I guess you can't now, because it's the account's been suspended, mysteriously suspended. What a shame. Oh man. Well, anyway, hey, got a lot of other stuff to get to. I thought that was just a lot of fun, though. I do love those joke Twitter accounts like that. They always bring me a source of entertainment, and hopefully you as well, especially, when they revolve around cars. Now we got more stuff to talk about. We're talking about Audi's new logo and how nobody noticed. That's next.
At the Speed Council, we understand that to go fast, you sometimes need to spend fast. As the inventor of hypersonic travel, the world's fastest cat, and instant noodles, we know what it takes. Money. Your contributions, bribes, and other monetary gifts keep the lights on at the Speed Council. However, we also know that giving back to our supporters is important, and now through the month of November, if you have contributed to the cause of speed, you're eligible to receive the Automotive ADHD keychain free of charge. New supporters who join through the end of November are also eligible. When you support the Speed Council, you also receive your favorite podcast early, or as one might say, faster. For more information, visit thespeedcouncil.org, because if there's anything we're fast at, it's spending money.
All right, here we are, rocking it for the second half of the Automotive ADHD Show. Matt West here, talking cars with you. Those car sounds were sent in courtesy of Tanner. That is his 1986 turbo 5.3 swapped Jaguar XJ6. What a mouthful. How cool is that? Did you hear that chop? Chop, chop, brap, 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 brap. Oh, man, that thing sounded awesome. Tanner, of course, for sending his car sounds into the show, is entered for a chance to win the Automotive ADHD keychain. I'm sure I got one of them lying around here somewhere. Somewhere. It'll come up when I'm done with the show. He also wins, if he is selected, I should clarify, if he is selected at the end of this month's drawing, he may also win a Automotive ADHD sticker and a $25 gift certificate to an auto parts store. Every little bit counts. I do the drawing at the end of every month. So if you want to be a part of that, if you want to have a chance to win all of the above, send your car sounds in like Tanner has, or you could do what Tanner has done and LS swap a Jaguar XJ6, put a turbo on it, tune it, do everything to it, and then send your car sounds in. You can do that, and you absolutely deserve to do so. So yeah, there you go. And you can send those car sounds in at facebook.com/automotive ADHD, or you can email me as well. If email's your thing, that's cool. Matt@throttlewarrior.com. Send those car sounds in. Get them featured on the show. I'm on a quest to play everybody's car sounds. So you doing it only helps you and me and everyone who likes them. So yeah, I think that's a win-win right there. Now, one thing before we get on to Audi, you may have heard about this. Jay Leno was injured recently. This is some tragic news, though he is okay. He is recovering, but he was fairly severely injured working on a car in his garage when some gasoline combusted thanks to some sort of ignition source. They're not saying what happened exactly. There was a quick and fast fire that burned him, and he has third-degree burns on a portion of his face, and that he may be requiring skin grafts and some other stuff. So Jay Leno, of course, is a long-time... Why am I talking about Jay Leno? If you don't know, Jay Leno is a long-time gearhead. He, of course, hosts Jay Leno's Garage on YouTube, in addition to a number of automotive television shows over the years. The comedian and late-night show host is probably the biggest celebrity car guy out there. He has a car collection with over 300 make that 180 cars. And I was reading another number on the side there, but 180 cars. And he's got 180 cars, 160 motorcycles. He loves his old steam cars, which allegedly that's what he was working on at the time of the fire. And somehow gasoline was involved in that. They're not, again, this is one of those things that they're keeping everything kind of under wraps until he's ready to, say anything about it. At the end of the day, yeah, he's a celebrity, but, he's got millions of dollars. But at the end of the day, he's a dude working in his garage. It's just his garage is bigger than mine. I get it. But at the end of the day, he's a dude working on cars. He loves his cars, and he loves working on them. So I think it's tragic what happened. The good news is he's going to be okay. And I do think at that point, everyone should kind of give him his space, because I don't know if I'd want the absolute crowd of the media poking on my hospital window if my car just blew up in my face. That would kind of suck. So yeah, I'm gonna give him some space on that. Wish him all the best. Wish him the best wishes. And so that he can get back in his garage and keep wrenching on cars, because the dude loves it, and I respect that. Jay Leno is one cool dude when it comes to cars. So just a little piece of news to touch on there. Next thing we got to move on to, though, is Audi. Audi, as in a big kind of pressy way, they've talked about, we've changed our logo for the first time in years. They've redesigned it. They're using all sorts of business and design, buzzwords. Good design is less design, and all these different things. I can't tell the difference. Really, I'm not really finding much of a difference in their logo. So their logo is 4 rings interlinked with each other. The logo's still 4 rings interlinked with each other, this time with just a two-tone, two-dimensional sort of appearance. Here's the thing. It's got more of a flat look compared to the sort of metal look that you would expect of an actual badge, a metal badge on a car. It doesn't have quite that embossed look to it. It's just flatter. It's just 4 rings, but flatter, okay? And why are we talking about this? Mainly because I find it's entertaining, the way these big companies, talk about, changes to their logo and stuff. And I mean, the biggest complaint that folks have with this right now is that on the cars, this is going to be like a 2D logo in the grill. It's not going to have any texture to it. It's not going to have any embossment to it. It's going to be like a sticker sitting in the grill, which some folks are upset about that. But here's the thing. Like, Audi has some interesting things to say, some interesting remarks when it comes to how they're going about this. So one of the designers here, the Audi brand strategist, Frederick Kalisch, says that and this is just designer speak. If you've ever like how do you tell someone you work in marketing and design without telling anyone that you work in marketing and design? This is how he says, quote, "On one hand, loud and very bold, on the other, restrained, pure and clean. The two-dimensional look gives our rings a significantly more modern and more graphic makeover, although their geometry is almost identical to the former ones." So just picture what I said right there in a really thick German accent, and you have it. Like if you hear anyone say that, they could be talking about anything, but they work in design, they work in marketing. He could have said, "Yeah, we made the rings flat. That's what we did. There's still 4 rings. So, yeah, they're flat now, and it's probably cheaper to manufacture." Like, that's it. Like, again, I talked about a couple weeks ago how Volkswagen was bringing physical buttons back to their steering wheel instead of capacitive touch buttons. And they had, the CEO had an entire paragraph that he wrote about how clean and, user-friendly design is what makes cars. No, okay, yeah, you didn't like the touch buttons, so we put the physical ones back. Okay, there you go. Paraphrased it right there. I know, I get it. I talk for a living. That's like what I do. But when you do that, you could just so much more easily say, "Yeah, we like this design because it's cheaper to manufacture." Okay, maybe that's not the best for PR and getting people to buy your cars. Okay, we made this design simpler. Yeah, see, simpler. I don't know. I think it's funny, though. And apparently the Audi subreddit has been insanely critical of the slightly flatter 4 rings. They've been complaining up and down, saying that, "Oh, look, Audi's going the VW route. It looks cheap. It was just stuck on as an afterthought." And maybe all of the above is true. Maybe it isn't. But it is interesting looking, at design and looking at car badges and logos. They are really iconic things. The Audi badge, some brief history for you. It goes back to a merger of 4 German automakers in 1932. And those German automakers became the Auto Union, which they operated as all the way up until the mid-1960s. And it was the Auto Union, or AU for short. And in the 1960s, Volkswagen purchased a 50% stake in the company and rebranded the company AU as Audi because that sounds more German, sounds better. Yeah. So they did that, where they have then since made overpriced rebadged VWs ever since. That's what they've done. So except for the original Quattro, because the original Quattro is cool. A+. Group B Quattro, go for that. That's awesome. But yeah, that's generally the history of Audi's design, and that's why there's the 4 rings, because they represent the 4 automakers that originally, merged together. But you gotta give them credit in some places. Credit where credit is due. I saw something else interesting, which is comes from a couple years ago, but it was basically a study where they took researchers took a group of people, 100 members of the British public, to draw from memory car brand logos. So they took 100 people and just made them draw the stuff, and they laid them all out. And you know what? Resoundingly, the Audi logo was the most accurate. Because it was 4 rings all linked together. That's it. Almost everyone got that, except for the one guy. I'm looking at the whole grid. They made a whole grid of everyone who drew them and how they drew them. There's some artsy people that drew these. But yeah, 4 rings stuck together, except for the guy who drew a big A surrounded by a circle. Yeah, he got it wrong. He got it really wrong. And then someone else drew the Citroen logo. They got that really wrong too. But for the most part, resoundingly, there's that brand recognition. You say, draw the Audi logo. Okay, 4 rings linked together. Someone else also drew the Olympic logo, which does look similar, but it's distinctly different. Now, that said, what's interesting about this whole logo thing is not only did they take 100 people, and ask them to draw the Audi logo, they also asked them to draw the Alpha logo. Oh, and that's where this gets creative. Man, these people got creative, all right? We have some real Picassos and some artists here who drew the Alpha logo. which the Alfa logo is a big old circle. It's says Alfa Romeo in it. It's got a little, cross and a snake with a little crown. Like, I'm just like, it's hard to, paint a picture here. This is audio, but the Alfa logo, you've seen it, you know it. And some people got it really right. And you would have to, I think, be an Alfa enthusiast to get it really right. This is a hard logo to draw. And there's a number of different ones here. Somebody drew the Ferrari badge, which isn't all that inaccurate since Alfa and Ferrari do a lot of stuff together nowadays, at least. It's not always been the case, but some other folks here drew beautiful, an A with a circle around it again. That was probably the same guy who drew the A with the circle for the Audi badge, too. It's just A, circle it. That's Audi and Alfa. That's Audi Romeo. There we go. Showing my Americanness there. Europeans always criticize us for mispronouncing Alfa Romeo. Yeah, it's Romeo. If you say Romero, who's Romero? Who's Romero, and what does he want with this Alfa? Anyway, some of the best ones here, though. I love this, looking at it. Someone just drew the BMW logo, except made it yellow. And they still wrote BMW in it. Come on, man. What the heck? Oh, that's great. That's great. That's great. Now, speaking of the BMW logo, the same researchers also asked people to draw the BMW logo, and similar results. Somebody also just drew a B and a W and then circled them, leaving out the M entirely. So BMW. It's just BW. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I think this is interesting. I would like to see this done with American automakers. I mean, I could draw the Chevy logo from memory, no problem. Dodge, it's a little harder to draw that logo. Chrysler, the kind of Chrysler, the Pentastar logo, as they call it. That's an easy one. I would like to see this redone with American manufacturers, though. I think that would be fascinating. And then everyone could just draw the AMC logo, and that would make me happy. So, and it'd still get it wrong. Do you know what the AMC logo looks like? Can you picture it in your head? Have you, like, that's one of those ones where people have entirely forgot about that car company as a whole. I don't think anyone's drawing their logo from memory. It's a cool logo, though, by the way. But anyway, speaking, though, of Audi, while they made their badge two-dimensional, they took away a whole dimension of their badge just so they could give you that third dimension back in 3D VR. Yeah, this is different. Audi is now selling VR headsets. I really don't know why, considering that they're an auto manufacturer. They're not a video game company or an electronics company. They're a car maker. They sell cars. They build and sell cars. But no. Now they got a VR, virtual reality Audi headset that you can wear while driving your Audi. And because I guess driving isn't cool enough, the promotional ad for this is really strange, honestly. Because what they show in the promotional video is a clearly bored lady sitting in the back seat of an Audi, driving through the city, with nothing better to do than just sit there, right? Like, you're in a car and you're just sitting there. Okay, all right, fine. So magically appearing on the seat next to her is the Audi VR headset. She dons the headset, and the world turns into gumdrops and bubble gum, and because this is clearly a way to get motion sick, I suppose. I don't know. I guess driving is boring enough. Now, to be clear, they're not marketing this as to be used by the driver, but some numbskull is going to try it. Also worth noting, as I'm just kind of watching through their promotional video for this while I'm talking here, the Audi being driven in the commercial does not have the new logo, to clarify, which is clearly an oversight on Audi's behalf. How are you going to take away that? How are you going to have the 3D headset if you got the 3D logo? That's too much 3D. You got to have that 2D logo to have the 3D headset. I digress. The whole ad is really strange. I imagine it was really funny because if you were like on the production side of this advertisement, if you were filming this advertisement and you were there with the camera in the car, the lady, she's probably not actually looking at any VR at all. She's just reacting to what she's being told to do. Look excited. Whoa, look, a dinosaur is going by you. And then she just has to react to the prompts. Like, ooh, imagine a dinosaur. This must have been impossibly entertaining to film, at the very least. Credit to her acting skills, whoever she is. She probably deserves a Grammy. No, that's for music. An Emmy for that. So anyway, so yeah, VR in a car. My take on that is this is just one of the effects, I think, of electric cars. We can tie this to electric cars because what happens with electric cars? Well, they're more boring to drive. There's no engine noise. There's no engagement. They all drive kind of the same. There's no differentiation between the chassis, in my opinion. They're all heavy. They're all usually SUVs. And they're all fairly boring. And I get that they can be very fast. But for the most part, aside from that raw acceleration, that instant torque, there's not much else with electric cars at the moment that gives them any merit as sports cars. So manufacturers say we need to make our electric cars more interesting. So we're just going to give you a VR headset in the back, and you can entertain yourself with video games like a child. Like, yes, here's a smartphone. Go play, Disgruntled Birds or something on it, and entertain yourself with it. And I think this is, for me, I would stay away from this wholeheartedly. If anything, just because I usually like to be driving the car, because you know what happens? This is a thing for me. When I'm not driving a car, I get car sick super easy. It's ironic. I love cars so much, and I get terribly car sick when I ride passenger, especially in the back seat. Even as an adult, I got car sick as a kid a lot. As an adult, I get car sick a lot. I do not enjoy being in the back seat of a car. Now, there is one thing in this world that can make me just as sick as I get if I'm in a car, especially that is VR, virtual reality. I've tried it. A friend of mine has a VR headset, and I've tried it. I even bought one just kind of on a whim to mess around with it, and terribly motion sick. They say, you'll get used to it. You just don't get motion sick after. No, that's not true. I get as motion sick every single time like it's the first time. And so, for someone like me, and there's a lot of people like me who get motion sick in cars, planes, boats, all of the above, and also in VR. And you combine the virtual reality with the car, it's just asking for it. That's just asking for it. I mean, now what they advertise is that they're able to sync up the virtual reality world to the movements happening in the car to help prevent motion sickness. But the problem is I get motion sick in the car as it is anyway. So I don't know. I think it's a gimmick. I think Audi should just focus on what they do, which is building cars. Not to mention, what they're calling this, by the way, is Audi Hollow Ride. Ooh, sounds fancy. And guess what? There's a subscription for it. So you have to buy the headset. Okay, the headset is like $700, which that's a pretty penny. And also when you consider like other VR headsets that exist, it's about how much they cost, but other VR headsets you can use in like other places, not just in your car. But here's the thing. So you buy the headset, that's $700, and then you pay a $20 a month subscription after that. $20 a month for using the VR, using a piece of hardware that you have. Audi is big on the subscription service thing, and I'll go down that rabbit hole for a second. If you listen to the show regularly, I'm not a fan of those subscription services in no way, shape, or form. I am of the opinion if you bought the hardware, you get to use it. End of story. And that's what Tesla and a number of other manufacturers don't realize. Even Toyota said, we're going to do a subscription service to use the remote start thing on your key fob. And Toyota owners didn't put up with that. Toyota owners resoundingly banded together in the form of an angry mob and decided to, figuratively at least, set fire to all of Toyota when they said that. And that's absolutely, I think that goes a long way to show the difference in buyers of these vehicles, the demographics. A lot of luxury car buyers are perfectly okay with, I'll just do the subscription service for the heated seats and, whatever, this extra option. Oh, the VR heads, I'll do the subscription service for that too. And that obviously probably goes to the fact that folks like that have a lot of discretionary money and it's only $20 a month for the heated seats. I'll just spring for that. Well, that's completely missing the point that you paid for the hardware when you bought the car. You paid for the heated seats physically when you bought the car. And now you're paying the subscription service for it, and it's billed as a thing that you can do. So, well, you don't have to pay for the options you don't use. No, you just get the subscription for the options you do want. The fact is, the auto manufacturer is going to bill you for the heated seats because they gave you heated seats physically in the car. Just because you have to pay a subscription service to use them doesn't mean that you didn't physically pay for the hardware. And I'm just using heated seats as an example. But again, this goes to remote start and other features and things like that. But using the heated seats as an example, when you bought the car, you paid physically for that hardware. You paid for that. They weren't going to give you the heated seats for free. That cost money, of course. They were going to charge you for that and wrap that into the overall price of the car, take the heated seat option off the option sheet, and just say, yeah, you can get heated seats with the $20 a month subscription. Well, in reality, you still paid for those heated seats. Now they're billing you too just to use them, which is, I think any reasonable person would probably disagree with that. And Audi, except for Audi owners who like wearing their VR headsets and paying $20 a month for it while they sit in the back of their car while presumably someone else drives them in their car. I don't know. Does owning an Audi, the income level you need to be at to own an Audi, I don't think really affords you to be driven around. I think an Audi's still a car you drive. It's not like a car you get a chauffeur to drive you around in. But, what do I know? I'm not sitting in the back of an Audi wearing a VR headset. I think it's a silly idea. Absolutely silly. Audi should just give us the 3D badge back, the 3D logo, and then take their 3D headset back while they're at it. That's, I don't know. That's what I think there. Let me know your thoughts on this one. Would you screw around with a VR headset in the back of a car, or would that make you terribly motion sick like it would me? Let me know. Facebook.com/Automotive ADHD. Got a lot of other stuff to get to here. Stick around for the third half of the show coming up in just a minute.
Every day, thousands go without the ability to buy necessary and life-saving parts. Parts like turbos, coilovers, and wheels.
I'm Steve, turbocharged BRZ. It doesn't run because I can play with my connecting rod through the hole in my block.
Project cars sit unfinished, waiting for parts, collecting dust.
My name is Todd, and I bought a rotary.
It's okay, bro. We'll swap it.
But no more. You, yes you, can make a difference. More information is available on the Automotive ADHD Facebook page, facebook.com/Automotive ADHD.
There we go. Those car sounds were sent in by friend of the show, Colin Schrom. That is his Chevy truck sitting there idling, doing it, running, doing all the good stuff that, trucks are supposed to do. And he did make the comment that it's been a little too reliable recently. And he's become suspicious of it because it has been too reliable lately. And you drive a project car when you worry that your car is actually too reliable. And if it's so reliable, that means it is going to break at some point. I relate with that on a personal level. I do. That's practically every one of my cars, though I can't say that for real anymore. I have a Tacoma that starts every day. So I guess I'm a cheater. I'm a fraud. Yeah, because my car starts every day. Don't give it any bad ideas because it might stop. So don't. But anyway, if you do want to send those car sounds into the show, I can only encourage you to do it, of course, facebook.com/Automotive ADHD, Matt@throttlewarrior.com, or if you are feeling extra fancy, how about this? Let me think here. How about you put it on a flash drive, and then you tape that flash drive to a Honda S2000 CR, very important note there, CR, front bumper, and then mail that to me. And I will probably play your car sounds here on the show for the rest of time. That's can I be bought? Yes, I can, and that's how you can do it. So if you choose to do that, I won't say no. So anyway, there you go. Now, before we talk about volcano climbing Porsches, I do have a piece of tragic news, which is relating to the Colorado-based company Flying Miata. Yeah, they are in my own backyard here in Colorado, and they build insanely cool V8 Miata conversions. And why this is cool, right? This goes back to, why would you put a V8 in a Miata? Well, obviously because it's cool, but it also goes back to the original sense of hot rodding, right? When you look back at some of the original muscle cars, what defined a muscle car, right? It was having a small car with a big engine. You go even further back, the OG original hot rodders were out there taking V8s and stuffing them into smaller cars that would have had straight sixes and other things like that. That was the whole point. You look at John DeLorean when he worked on the GTO, which that's one piece of trivia a lot of people don't know, is that DeLorean, obviously famous for the DeLorean Motor Company, which sells the DeLorean model, sold the DeLorean model car. John DeLorean worked for General Motors for a long time, and he was instrumental in the project that was what ultimately became the Pontiac GTO. Not to say he gets all the credit for it. It was a team thing, but that said, he was instrumental in that. And what did they do? They took a big engine and put it in a small car. I wouldn't necessarily brand a GTO as a small car. It's really not. But when you look at it in the context, when you look at it in the time, the cars that were going around on the road then were huge boats of cars that were so big you could sleep lying entirely flat and stretched out in the trunk. That's how big those cars were. So by comparison, the GTO was small. So again, here's the idea. Big engine, little car. You take advantage of the weight, the power to weight ratio. You take advantage of the better weight distribution that you achieve with that. And now that's not saying slapping a gigantic V8 in the front end of a Miata is going to not affect weight distribution at all. It might just a little bit, just a tiny bit. But Flying Miata has been pretty well known for this. And what they do is they provided now, sad to say, but they provided turnkey swaps. They would sell you everything you needed to put an LS engine into a Miata. The LS, of course, is the modern derivative of the Chevy small block. And you can have them in all sorts of flavors, LS1, LS2, LS3, LSX, LS7. And obviously, those are going to be aluminum block, aluminum head V8s. They're pretty light for what they are. You also have iron variants of those engines that were used in all sorts of things, like Chevy trucks and Suburbans and things like that. Devin, who's had his car sounds played on the show a lot, is a fan of them, to say the least. He's got a LM7, which is an iron block V8 in his Volvo 240 that has a supercharger and nitrous and water meth and, the good stuff. And so he's got that going for him. And there's just the point is there's all sorts of flavors of LS. And putting one in a Miata just makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, come on. I mean, that's like one of the smallest cars that you can get in the U.S. market that's rear-wheel drive. And yeah, you're putting the biggest engine you can find into it. That's super cool. It's LS V8s are cost. They don't cost a huge amount of money. They're not terribly expensive. You can go expensive on an LS, but for the most part, it's attainable. It's attainable for the dude wrenching in his garage. And the tragedy here is because of the EPA. This ties into the RPM Act. Because of the EPA, Flying Miata has decided that it's not worth the risk, at least as a company. The EPA hasn't explicitly come after them yet, but they're worried about repercussions from the EPA, and they're worried about that. And I have a feeling they don't want to be the test case when it comes to fighting this in court. They're a small business. They employ local workers. They employ American workers. That's a good noble thing. But likewise, they don't have the resources of General Motors and Ford and all the big companies. And fighting the EPA head on, that's a tough task, as lots of aftermarket tuning shops have already proven once they've gotten into lawsuits with the EPA. Now, in a statement on their website, they said, quote, "While Flying Miata has an extensive history of building LSX converted Miatas from 2008 to 2019 and built some of the most exciting Miatas to grace the streets, autocross tracks, and hill climbs all over the world, we have discontinued our V8 conversion service and are no longer offering turnkey builds or conversion parts for V8 builds. They go on to say there are two factors here. They say there are questions about federal legality of the conversions, and they say that they have limited resources to build cars and do research and development. Now, I get that. I get the limited resources, right? Again, we're talking a small business. But research and development, that's a huge process. Designing stuff, researching it, testing it, rinse and repeat, do all of that over and over until you have a product that works and works reliably. I get that. But I think the biggest thing here, and it's what they said first, repercussions from the federal government, namely the Environmental Protection Agency. Now, my arguments for the V8 swaps here, though, especially, now, granted, a lot of these are just being used on track. Now, obviously, you got guys who are going to V8 swap their Miatas, and they're going to drive them on the street. I think there should be nothing wrong with that, but if we're talking about legality's sake, this is one of those things, too, the whole argument that, well, you're swapping a Miata with a V8, that's bad for the environment. Well, the fact is you're taking one V8 that was already on the road in the form of anything that an LS comes in, be it a Corvette, be it a Camaro, be it a iron block in a pickup or a Tahoe or something, right? You're taking that off of the street and just putting the engine in a lighter car, which arguably is going to be more efficient. That engine's not working as hard to move that car from a stop. But the fact is you're taking it from an existing car that's already on the road, that already passes emissions, and just putting it in another car. Why is that so terrible for the environment? Especially if you've gone to the extent, if you want it to be a street car, you want it to pass emissions in whatever state or county you reside in. Therefore, you have taken the emissions equipment, or at least, replicated that emissions equipment on your swap, be that catalytic converters and whatever else you need. You've done that, so the emissions aren't going to be any different necessarily than if that was a stock Corvette. If it was a stock LS out of a stock Corvette and you just happen to put it in a Miata, oh no, now the federal government's got to get involved. That Miata produces more emissions than that ever should have produced. That's not the point. That point is moot because that engine and that whole setup came from a Corvette that was already destined for street use, and it just happens to be that it's now in a Miata. How is that any different than having the Corvette on the road? I don't see that. I think there should be nothing wrong with that. But this is where the RPM Act comes into play. Again, I've talked about it before. I'm going to keep talking about it. I know you're sick of me talking about it, but it's so important. It's so critical. It's crucial. And the RPM Act would protect companies like Flying Miata, who are making LS converted Miatas, many of which are destined for track use and track use only. It would protect them. It would legally protect them and shield them from the EPA. They, as a company, aren't liable if you take your track car that's not street legal or anything and you happen to drive it on the street and you get busted for it, or you take a street car that's registered and you do the conversion and blow past emissions, or maybe you live somewhere that doesn't have emissions. They should not be liable for what the customer ultimately does. They just are selling, V8 swaps for non-street use, be that drag strip, be that road course, whatever. And the RPM Act would entirely protect them. And this is exactly how companies are going to be put out of business, because without the RPM Act, companies like Flying Miata, they haven't even, at least publicly said anything about any incursion or violation with the EPA, but they see these violations and the EPA coming down hard on other companies like tuners like Cobb, that makes the access port tuners and stuff. Those things, they see the effects of this, and they know that a major lawsuit and major fines from the EPA and all this stuff would just bankrupt them. So they have to, that's why they said that, they go on to say that they believe this whole thing was the, best thing for their business. That doesn't mean they think necessarily they could make more money not doing this. They just know that they will be put out of business if they get in trouble for it. And they shouldn't get in trouble for it in the first place. So there you go. Those are my thoughts there. I would love, and I may reach out to them, I would love to have the Flying Miata, some of the folks from there on the show. They seem like the coolest dudes. I'm just curious to know a little bit more about what's going on, with, from their perspective as a tuner, what goes on with things like the EPA, with things like selling parts to do race conversions and stuff. I'm sure those guys would be big supporters of the RPM Act. So anyway, one more thing I have to touch on. This is cool. Porsche. Speaking of fun, cool, crazy cars, Porsche has taken to volcano climbing with 911s. Yeah, this is fun. I would totally buy a 911 to do this. So they've got a couple of 911 prototypes that are on majorly lifted off-road suspensions, off-road tires with a roof rack. Picture a wide-body 911 with big meaty tires, long travel suspension, bash bars, a roof rack, stripped-out race interior. This is cool. And what they've done with this 911 is they decided to scale and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, the Ojo del Salado volcano, which is in Chile, and it is the highest volcano in the world. And so you get simultaneously the freezing temperatures, the effects of the high altitude, while also being set on fire by the volcano. So, yeah. And this 911, by the way, really cool. 443 horsepower, all-wheel drive Carrera 4S. It's based off the 992 generation of 911. And it has a staggering 13.7 inches of ground clearance, which is, they say, half an inch more than the ground clearance you find on the Ford Bronco Raptor. That's a really high-riding Porsche. That is, okay, this is cool. And yeah, I get it. It's a publicity stunt from Porsche, though it's not unlikely that they would never sell a rally off-road inspired Porsche. And obviously, Porsche has a history of doing off-road Porsches, everything from the Dakar rallies to Baja stuff, things like that. And not only that, the Porsche 959, the absolute gem, the top of the top Porsche supercar from the 1980s, famous for a period of time, at least, for being one of the, if not the fastest production car in its day. That car was a derivative of a Group B rally car. That was a homologation special, not even a derivative. That was a homologation of the Group B Porsche rally car. Group B, of course, was like the most intense section of rally that happened back in the 1980s. I could do a whole episode here on some of the history of Group B because it's fascinating. It's in some ways tragic, but I don't think anyone can argue that it wasn't the most rowdy form of rally back in its day. And even by modern standards, honestly. I mean, manufacturers are doing nutty stuff. They had the Porsche, the 959 was really designed to compete with that. And, this even goes to some of the features you still find in those old 959s, which is, you've got your manual transmission, your first gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear. Well, you actually have an extra low granny gear, a crawler gear to the side of first in that. And that, again, goes back to some of the off-road heritage. Now, I would love to see a 959, a collector who owns one, just go, take it off-road and just beat the crap out of it off-road. They're not going to do it. They won't. They'll never do it. But come on, it was built for that. I know. But this is cool. I respect Porsche for doing ridiculous, cool stuff. Yeah, is it a publicity stunt? Totally. It totally is. Are they going to sell lifted Porsches? Maybe, actually. It's not the most likely thing in the world, but there is talk that they are actually working on more of an off-road focused Porsche. Are they going to be as you see them in this crazy volcano climbing trim? Probably not. Is anyone ever going to buy one? Probably not. Do I care? No, because they climbed a freaking volcano with a Porsche, and that's awesome. That appeals to the inner 5-year-old in me. I love that. We're all 5 years old at heart when it comes to cars, I swear. And now, when you think about a Porsche like this, they should sell one because, look at it this way. If you've got, say, a dude whose spouse maybe doesn't really support him purchasing a sports car, it's not going to be practical. What if we have to get groceries? What if it snows? This off-road volcano Porsche is your solution. Groceries, put them on the roof rack. Done. You need to go out in the snow? No problem. you need to go to your grocery store, which happens to be on top of the world's tallest volcano, no problem. You can do it in the Porsche. So, come on, that's cool. What part of that isn't cool? Oh, man. I get excited with these kind of things. I love that. I love that. We need more of this stuff. That's the kind of absolute nonsensical things that more manufacturers need to do. And then someone needs to actually sell something like that. And I think it would be brilliant. You'd probably sell like 2 of them, but it would be awesome. So anyway, there you go. Hey, this has been a fantastic show, a fun show. I want to thank you for joining me. But not only that, before I go, I do want to remind you that this show does go up as video now. And I do forget to mention that sometimes, but what I'm doing is the show is available on YouTube, but also Rumble. The links to both of those are in the show notes below this episode. And Rumble, of course, is a alternate video hosting platform. They're a little better when it comes to creators, so that's why I do want to seek the value in posting there as well. They are actually really good when it comes to supporting creators, and that's something you need. That's something you need as a creator, obviously. But yeah, YouTube, Rumble, check that out. Of course, remember to give this show a rating. Yes, give it a rating on Spotify, 6 stars. Blow it up. Make them add a whole new star just for this show. That's going to be good. This show, of course, is available on Spotify, and where fine shows, and, well, you know how it goes. This one are downloaded, and I'll see you right here, same time, same place next week, when I think we'll probably talk about more cars. It's kind of like what the title's about. That's coming up next week. I'll see you then.